try that again. So sorry. I thought I had a power failure, which I actually had on my last pep talk that I did for my team. So anyway, welcome. I'm Kiki Petty, and I'm excited that we're doing this power of the peptide tonight. We have a few speakers that we are so excited to share with you our stories using peptides, and hopefully be here to answer some questions should you have any. So I had asked before we blipped out if you are currently using peptides to drop a 1 in the chat. If you are curious and interested but not yet using a peptide, please put 2 in the chat. I'd love to see the makeup of the room. And so I will go ahead and just get started and share a little bit of my own personal journey. So again, my name is Kiki. I am 46. I'll be 47 in July. And I have been using the GLP-1 Peptide since last June, exactly the same week last year. So I have 1 year now been using a GLP-1. And prior to that, I was a skeptic. I was definitely, I wouldn't go as far to say a hater, but I absolutely thought I didn't need something this extreme. I thought it was something for other people, you know, diabetics or very obese. And at the time, I was healthy-ish, but I had been dealing with a lot of very frustrating perimenopause symptoms for at least the last couple years prior to starting the GLP-1. I was very moody. I call it kind of squishy. Like I had good muscle tone. I'd been doing Pilates and, you know, walking and doing some strength training, but like I felt almost like overnight, my body just kind of got soft and fluffy. I use that word a lot because if you are in midlife, I think a lot of us understand what that is like. You just don't feel the same. You don't feel like you can fit in your clothes anymore. It's maybe not a ton of weight, but it's just that inflammation. Okay, so I was dealing with that. I was dealing with a myriad of other perimenopause symptoms. And finally, I just was to the point where I felt, frankly, mentally extremely depressed. That feeling of being stuck, I think, is probably worse than, you know, actually just having weight gain. Like just feeling like everything you're trying that used to work, by the way, prior to perimenopause, like I could, you know, do a little diet and, you know, get off a few pounds, easy peasy, work out a little bit, feel that muscle tone. Yeah, it just wasn't working. So being stuck was very mentally taxing. So I have a local friend who is a functional doctor. And she had talked to me about GLP-1. And of course, like I said, I really didn't think I was fitting that category of person that needed that or would qualify for that. But she encouraged me to give it a try. And I am so thankful that I trusted her and said yes. That has led me down a path, obviously, to where I am right now, speaking to all of you. Not as an expert, but as someone who has really kind of taken a little bit of a deep dive into the peptide world because of the transformation that I have experienced. So within the first 4 to 6 weeks, I mean, it was not like weight loss to write home about. Like I think I lost about 4 pounds, but I felt different. Like when inflammation leaves your body, you just move better. Your joints are, you know, more able to move freely. I was sleeping better. And then after that, probably 6 to 8 week mark, I did start losing pretty consistently. And from basically starting the last week of June until the second week of November, I lost 33 pounds total. So really just didn't actually think I needed to lose that much weight, but I got back into, you know, the healthy place that I didn't really think I ever would again, being in my mid 40s. And that feels amazing. So the feeling of getting unstuck, fabulous. So during the time I've used tirzepatide, that inflammation is gone and it's stayed gone. So I feel so good every day. My sleep is better. Freedom in my mind is something that is so just unexpected. I definitely have had cravings and binge tendencies in the past, but the food noise being gone is such a unique experience that once it's gone, I mean, I feel like I'm eating so much better now because I can actually like tune into hunger cues and not just be like pushed by the voice that's constant, like I need this, what's in the pantry, what am I going to have the next meal? Like that noise being gone is so freeing. So those are some of my major wins. And I've since gone on to add a few more peptides, including NAD, Samorelin, which is a class of peptide called a secretagogue, and it is basically stimulating human growth hormone. So I added that into my stack to help me with muscle tone. It really helps you kind of change up your body composition. You've got to put in the work, but it's such a good add-on as you are working to change up some things with strength training and the like. And then NAD, that is amazing. Such great energy. Like I feel this vitality that I just can't really describe. And that actually leads me to our next speaker because I know she is going to share about her experience with NAD. And I'm excited to introduce Rachel. Rachel is an herbalist, an acupuncturist. She has her own practice in New Jersey. She's married. She has 8-year-old twins.
Yep.
Boys, right?
Girl and
And
a boy.
okay, girl and a boy. Sorry.
Yeah, that's
And
okay.
she is very new to peptides. So I'm really excited to hear her take on this. And she's known amongst her friends and her community as someone that is always looking out for their best interests in health. And I know she's really excited to add this as an offering into her book. So if everyone can mute, I'm not sure who that is. I'll try to find it. But Rachel, take it away. I'm excited to hear your story with peptides.
Thank you so much, Kiki. I'm really excited to be here, guys. I feel like I've entered into this amazing world of peptides, and I'm so excited to share it with everybody in my own life, in my practice. So I grew up in a very alternative household. My family always sought out alternative means to treating health and wellness. We didn't turn to antibiotics. We turned to herbal medicine and supplementation and acupuncture. So I got turned on to this from a very early age, this alternative way of thinking about things. Um, and so I fell into the peptide world because I'm in my 40s. I'm 42, about to be 43. And I started feeling some, I guess you'd say, perimenopausal symptoms. Nothing too crazy yet, but I wanted to stop the crazy train before it left the station. So I wanted to preserve my vitality. I wanted to reap the anti-aging longevity benefits. I wanted to stabilize my energy. So for myself, I was like, this seems like such a win. And for those of you that don't really understand what NAD does, it actually goes into your body and it repairs damage on a cellular level and it boosts your mitochondrial function. So any wonky cells in your body, they're going to get repaired and you're going to just feel so much better, so much more vital, so much more youthful. And I'm going to get into what I felt in a little bit, but first, I just want to get into the other reason that I got into peptides, and it's for my patients. So, the last few years, I feel like there's been a shift with the way my patients' health has gone. So, I feel like people used to respond very quickly to acupuncture. Inflammation would go down pretty quickly, and I was like, okay, like I'm getting really good results from what I do. Acupuncture, herbal medicine, supplementation. And I honestly feel like since COVID hit, people's overall emotional health went down, our physical health went down. And a lot of people have come up with a lot of wonky autoimmune issues, a lot of inflammation. So I was like, I feel like I need to add something in that can really go down to the cell level to help these people. And I couldn't find anything. Like, I was like, all right, supplements are great, but it's like, it's not the missing link. So my friend Heather started really getting into the peptide world, and I started doing my own research, and I found NAD. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And this can help my patients. And I have so many patients, like I have patients that are having weight issues right now. They're in menopause. They're inflamed. They have gut issues. So I was like, my God, there is a peptide for everything. There's a peptide called BPC 157, TB 500. It heals your entire gut lining. So I have a patient right now with massive gut issues who's about to start it, and I'm really excited for her because nothing else has helped. Like the doctors are like, sorry, you just have to deal with this. I have another patient who has put on so much weight in menopause, and the woman does everything right. She works out, she eats well, she's got a good mental state going, but she cannot lose the weight and she's frustrated. So I finally just convinced her, just try the microdosing. So today she actually did her first injection, so I'm super excited for her. So I feel like for my patients, for myself, there's endless benefits to peptides. Um, and for me, the things that I felt since starting NAD, my energy levels were going like this, like pretty okay, and then it would dip like 2, 3 o'clock. I would crash and I would be like, I need to take a nap, but I can't. I have a very busy life. So my energy is now like this. And then when I go to bed, I can sleep really well. It's not like giving me this insane false energy. It's just this real, true, steady, nice energy that I felt before I had kids. Oh, and this was a really cool one. My skin cleared up. I had all these little bumps on my skin that I could not get rid of, and I was like, Jesus, what else can I do here? I've done everything possible. Like, I have a really great diet, and they would not go away. And after my third dose of NAD, they are gone. So I was like, I actually texted my friend Heather. I said, I cannot believe my skin cleared up from this. So I have energy, my skin is clearer, and I overall feel less inflamed. Like, my wedding ring can actually come off now. And before, my fingers were like sausages all the time. And I was like, what is going on? I am not a big person. Um, so I've had so many benefits. I'm excited to see what it's going to do for my patients. And then the company LEMD, like I decided to become a brand partner because the quality of these peptides is unmatched. I have done so much research. There's so many peptides out there, but you don't know where they're coming from. They're not third party tested. They're not being compounded in 503A pharmacies, which are like the gold standard for pharmacies. Like you are going to get the best quality peptide and it's going to be dosed just for you because they have doctors evaluating you before you even get approved for your peptide. Like to me, it was such a win-win. And I felt confident recommending it to my patients, to my friends, and to my family. So just happy to be here and be a part of this and share the knowledge.
Thank you, Rachel. That is such an awesome perspective. I love hearing from different like health practitioners. We have
Yeah.
so many people within LEMD. We're attracting such a just high caliber of people that see this for what it is.
Right.
And, there's so many ways to bring health to people.
Right.
And you have a lot of that skill set, but even you saw a need that you weren't able to meet. And so
Right.
this just adds like a whole nother facet to what you can bring to your
Right.
patients and your community. I love that. Thank
I
you
know.
so
I'm so
much for
excited.
sharing. And I love that you're experiencing all that like vitality that comes from NAD. And you're only using NAD at the moment, right?
At the moment, I'm actually thinking about what I'm going to do next, but I started with that one and I'm like, if I feel this good from NAD, I'm excited to see what else I could do. I'm thinking that the BPC 157 next for, gut health. That's probably my next one. So,
Yeah, and I am not a peptide expert, but we do
right.
have a lot of those on staff that help with our Thursday night educational series, which is
Yeah.
incredible. If you haven't ever attended one of those, I highly recommend that you ask the person that invited you here to loop you in on the next one. But one of
Okay.
the things that I learned that is so cool about peptides is they all kind of like work together. They all kind of maximize each
Right.
other's potential. So as you stack peptides, they kind of bounce off of each other and create even more
Right.
benefit. So
Right.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I'm excited to introduce our next speaker. And I saved Lynn for last because she is someone who has been in the world of using GLP-1 specifically for her entire career. Lynn is a diabetes nurse educator. Did I say that right, Lynn? Your title? And she has been just very knowledgeable on the subject, specifically of GLP-1. But it wasn't until this year, 2025, that she started to use them personally. And her transformation is spectacular. And so I'm excited to have her share just a little bit about all of that. And I saved you for last, Lynn, because I know if we get questions about peptides, you're probably going to be someone that's going to be a little more well-versed than myself. So I'll let you answer some questions if we get them. I'll help too, but welcome,
Okay.
Lynn.
Thank you, Kiki. Nice to be here, everyone. My name's Lynn, and like Kiki said, I'm a registered nurse, certified diabetes care and education specialist, which is a fancy word for diabetes educator. So we've actually, myself, I've been a nurse for 30 years. And in 2007 is when the first peptide came out, GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide receptor agonist, and it was literally derived from the saliva of a Gila monster. So I don't know if you guys know those big old lizards that go 6 months to a year without eating. They said, "Hey, let's use this and put it in adults and people and help them." So initially it was for diabetes, meaning we knew that it helped those receptors like have their insulin to work better. And there was a 7 to 8% weight loss, but the problem was you did it every single morning. You injected 45 minutes before eating, and we had to teach them to eat tiny little meals, and 50% of users had excruciating nausea. Like, I mean, I was thinking, were people losing weight because they were nauseated, or they just, they couldn't eat or whatever? But um, they improved slightly to, a once a day injectable that was more human like. But fast forward to 2017, that's when people started to hear about semaglutide because it was then 15 to 16% weight loss. Everyone knows, Ozempic and Wegovy. The GLP-1 receptor agonist, although it works really well, obviously for diabetes, it also helps, like everyone has said, your appetite for weight loss, slowing down gastric emptying. It helps with your cardiovascular system with inflammation. It helps with renal and kidney disease. Now it's helping with fatty liver. I mean, there's so many indications for glucagon like peptide or GLP-1 that it's going to be used for many, many things. And they're already talking about it for a lot of inflammatory diseases that like I said, I think you're going to see this is just the beginning of the second generation medications of GLP-1. So for myself, I never really thought I was ever going to need it or use it. It was one of those things that I just helped patients with it. I helped them
I like
navigate,
them both. They
um, so I think overall, I was about 2018, I had to have a hysterectomy. And 3 years later, like, well, I guess it doesn't matter my age. Once I turned 50, 3 years after, I think the ovary I had left stopped working. So basically, once you don't make enough estrogen, and as a nurse, I probably should have put it together like something's going on because I was slowly gaining and gaining and gaining, and it was all in the midsection. They say it goes from your butt to your gut. Well, that was me. So I was literally carrying this tire around. I gained 40 pounds, and I was also a for 20 years, I was a fitness, I did competitions. So I did fitness bikini competitions. So I knew in 16, 20 weeks, I could always get really lean and, have abs, and it wasn't working. Nothing I was doing was working. So I'm sure you've heard this many times, but basically what was happening is I was all of 2024, even 2023. I was going hard at the gym and dieting and getting ready for my 25th wedding anniversary. I knew we had planned to go to Hawaii, and I was getting frustrated because I could not lose weight. It was all in my midsection, and everything else that you can think of menopause happened. So I really as a diabetes nurse, my phone was blowing up with, it knows I talk diabetes all day. So it said, all these ads. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. So I tried it as of January 1st, it's been 6 months. I've lost the 40 pounds. And for me, I feel more like my old self. I feel regenerated. I feel my energy is back. My clothes fit again. The biggest thing I think, like we've already talked about a little bit today, is it does reduce inflammation. So you just, again, everything's not swollen and you sleep better. And I mean, even the hot flashes went away. Everything was just better. And slowly, about a pound or two a week, that's a good rate. And I, still work out at the gym 3 or 4 days a week. I lift pretty heavy. You progressively want to lift heavy. You want to drink a lot of water. And so now I'm sort of at my goal weight. I'm using microdosing at this point, almost every 10 days. You can start to go to every 10 days, and sometimes eventually you can go to every 2 weeks if you're able to stay on the regimen and the calorie deficit and eating, enough protein. So I know that's sort of a lot of information, but I'm willing to answer any questions that anyone might have about GLP-1. Again, now as someone that helps navigate patients for years with GLP-1 and then using it myself, my perspective is different because now when someone comes in, they're like, oh, I only lost a pound. Everyone keeps losing 10. I'm like, no, 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 you don't want to go fast. It doesn't have to be fast. Slow is going to change your body composition. It's going to help you to maintain this, and it won't be something that you just lose and then it'll come back. So it'll be, changing for your metabolic health and changing your body composition to more lean muscle as opposed to just losing a bunch of well, the body fat losing, that's great too, but I'm saying then gaining some lean muscle at the same time. So
Awesome. Thank you, Lynn. That was such a good explanation. And yeah, this is a totally different, ball of wax, so to speak, than a diet. Like I try to express that to my clients because I have done the diet roller coaster my entire life. And actually starting this initially for me, it was just make some progress because I'd felt so stuck. And then really seeing this as like we are fundamentally changing our body at a cellular level in a way that is this window of opportunity. Like literally they've studied it. Like there's this neuroplasticity that like you can actually make changes through your habits while your body is actually fundamentally changing, and you can be a different person because of these peptides. Like I just think that's so cool. Like nothing else I've ever attempted has been actually changing me. It's just been a band-aid, really. And that's what I think is so cool about peptides in general. So if anyone has questions right now, we would so love to answer them. I know for anybody who's a peptide newbie, it's kind of like, what are we even talking about? So I'm going to say this and I hope I say it right. But peptides are in us. Peptides are basically short chain amino acids. If there was more to the chain, it would literally be a protein. So we are putting back into us things that we already make and have. And because of the chemicals in our environment, the toxic sludge that we live in and eat and breathe and drink, and microplastics and gosh knows what else is going on in the environment, like we are essentially degrading as humans every day, and we need to put back in some that we have lost. So like Rachel said, there's so many peptides. They go in and they attach themselves to your receptors, and they basically like upregulate things that need leveling up and downregulate things that need coming down. And they kind of bring us back to a place of homeostasis. So whether that's you've got gut issues, it goes in to tackle that. Whether you've got joint pain, nerve pain, an old tissue, tendon issue that you've had an injury, it goes. There's peptides that can go and heal that. There's so many ways that we can use these to create health. So is there any impact on future reproductive health for a 24-year-old female? I'm going to let Lynn answer that because I don't think there is, but you might have a medical answer that will answer that better than me.
So, because it helps with inflammation, I guess it depends on, the person, but I had 3 years of in vitro fertilization, and I had reproductive issues, getting pregnant. So I think if these had been available, I think my reproductive health would have actually been better because it does help reduce inflammation. So if anything, I think it can reverse a lot of things that might have been, at the time messed up for me. So I definitely feel like it's not going to impact, now I don't know that there's a lot of studies on it, but I know that it really is benefiting so many things across the board that I really don't see that that would be an issue.
PCOS, I know there's a lot of
Right.
women who are infertile due to PCOS,
Yep.
polycystic ovarian syndrome, and this is used for the repair of that situation.
So
So
with most things like because of insulin resistance through PCOS, your insulin is being blocked, and this definitely unblocks your cells, and it helps you, it really does help with that inflammation and that blocking. So yeah, I think if anything, it's only going to make reproduction better, not worse.
and
So
then once you've reached your goal weight, do you have to keep using it every day? I will say that I kind of feel like for me, I know I personally will struggle from more of the eating side of things, the impulses, the cravings, the food noise. So I feel like I'm gonna need and want to use this as a tool in my toolkit. But what I tell my potential clients or clients is like it's your choice. But this is kind of the only place where we ask that question in relation to obesity versus like if you're a diabetic, we would never say like, okay, now we're going to get your insulin under control, but we're going to then stop that and expect your body to now handle it, right? Like it's not necessarily going to work that way. So if you're someone that's like gained weight because, of grief or a medication that caused weight gain, a really temporary situation, like you could use it as a tool. But for a lot of us, like it is something that is probably going to be needed in some way long term, in my opinion. But there again, we have the ability to microdose, which is such a cool thing. Like you're using tiny little amounts to kind of just work on that insulin sensitivity, keep the inflammation down, handle a little bit of that appetite control. So that's a nuanced answer. There's nuance to that question. Diabetic nerve pain, does this reverse that, Lynn? That's a question. Do peptides help reverse nerve pain in diabetics?
So anytime you're helping your A1C, then you're going to help your diabetes nerve pain. Um, Now it's not completely reversed depending how advanced your neuropathy is, but definitely peptides can lower, see, especially the GLP-1s, is what I'm speaking of mostly, and GLP GIP, it can lower your A1C into the fives, and people have much more oxidative, oxygenation to their extremities, and the neuropathy pain is much, much better. And obviously making sure you get the right, vitamins and nutrients to the cells too.
And there are other peptides that could potentially come in to help with that too. I know our BPC 157 TB 500 is all about like repair and regeneration of lots of places in your body, tissues, tendons. I would imagine that could help with some nerve pain too. Yes, loved hearing it help your menopause symptoms. I was trying to see if Blair was still on. I don't know if she can even pop off, but we have so many women who've had tremendous help with variety of menopause symptoms. I know Blair in particular had great success with glutathione and NAD with her hot flashes and the majority of her menopause symptoms. But if you are invited to this call, ask the person that invited you to make sure you're in our Facebook group. It's called the Longevity and Wellness Collective. We have so many wonderful client testimonials, so you can go in there and kind of read what people have experienced with different peptides. What about SIBO and MCAS? I don't know what either of those are, so I'm sorry I can't answer that one. Anybody?
So those are intestinal, and again, probably some of the other peptides for the gut would be really useful, but I think there's, you would have to look into that more. So definitely, I don't know for sure GLP-1 would be the answer to that, but I think the first thing to do is see a registered dietitian, and then, and then from there, go from there, because this is all sort of, there's a lot of new and emerging research. So I would just want to make sure that it's right for you, because what could be right for you that won't necessarily help, everybody. So
Awesome. Couple more questions and then we will wrap this up. Want to be respectful of everyone's time. Are these peptides safe for long-term use? So again, I'm going to defer to Lynn, but GLP-1 in particular has been studied and in use for over 20 years. But what is your take on that, Lynn?
absolutely, yeah. And again, remember, we have now cardiologists that are putting people on GLP-1. We have liver doctors that it's reversing liver disease 80%. And our diet and exercise for 10 weeks, like of intensive management of just nutrition, it recovers their liver 4%. So this is huge. And again, we're just at the beginning of this. There's going to be so many indications, but cardiologists, rheumatologists, it's going to be for many, many issues of, if you have anything that is autoimmune. They're talking about it for even, patients with Alzheimer's. So again, we're just at the beginning of this journey. And I wish that a lot of these were around for years before, when I've had other patients and other people I know that could have used them. So
I can't believe it's a real thing.
And just remember too that peptides this isn't a true medication, like that's just completely created out of chemistry that's foreign to our body, doing stuff in our body. Like what we're doing is adding back in something that our body already knows what it is. So it's like a whole other category. Yes, we're injecting it, so it feels like we're putting in a medication, but it's actually a part of our makeup. It's just
yeah, the newer
created in a
versions
lab.
are like 99% affinity of human GLP-1. They're literally mimicking, and it's working, like you said, on our receptors to make all those different receptors throughout our brain and our body like work for you. So again, there's slow responders, there's moderate responders, and fast responders. But again, it depends on your insulin resistance, and it will work for everybody, but it just works differently on everybody. So patience, and then it's just the sort of tool to help progress your journey. It's not always going to do the exact same thing. You might have a different outcome than someone else, but it is only going to benefit anybody.
Perfect. Okay, last question. Kat has asked, are we
Plus,
doing
which is going to help with
HRT?
more energy.
Can't due to
Or
family
you could try
history
like
of
a
breast cancer from estrogen-induced migraines. Well, so I personally am using HRT. I know a lot of women that are, but I would say this is a great first stop if you're not able to use HRT, because these peptides can truly help with a lot of the menopause symptoms. So Dr. Wagner, who is one of our peptide gurus that speaks a lot, he was on a call where he talked about if you stack together like a microdose of a GLP-1 with Semirelin with BPC 157, the three of those together, he said, can tackle like 70% or more of menopause symptoms just from using those peptides. So I would say, Kat, if you can't do HRT, this could be a really, great avenue for you to get some symptom relief. It's worth a try, right? Like if you're suffering, and I mean, yeah, anybody in midlife, we know what that's like. Like we want some help. And if you can't do HRT or you don't choose to, like peptides are such an awesome way to get help. So it was Semirelin, GLP-1 in a microdose, and BPC 157 TB 500. So I'm just going to go over really quickly at the end of our call here, just how you can get started with LEMD. I love sharing about this because we are such a unique unicorn business out in the world of telehealth right now. So we're a longevity platform we are focused on bringing you top quality peptides that are, well, we are NABP accredited, which means National Association Board of Pharmacists. So that's like a high accreditation. We only use 503A FDA regulated compounding pharmacies. So right now, peptides are super popular and gaining more and more momentum in the world of health. But with it comes some people just wanting to cash in and kind of get in the market. And so you will find a lot of people selling questionable peptides out there. So you want to know that if you're going to inject something into your body, that it is what it says it is, because there are local med spas on the corner everywhere now, and they're getting stuff from China or, you know, cooking it up in the back room. We don't know what it is. So we provide top quality peptides. You can trust that. We also have functional medicine doctors. So those are the ones who are reviewing your health history, who are prescribing to you. The price on our website is fully transparent, which I think also is unique to us. There's no extra fees for doctors and shipping and, you know, memberships, anything like that. So the price you see on the website is the price it is. With our GLP-1s, it's a 3-month requirement. So you'll get all 3 months shipped to you at once. With our longevity peptides, it's 2 months. And you will get your medication FedExed on ice. You get all your supplies with it. So you're really well set up. And ongoing medical support is included. So you get the first doctor review. And then if you need, you know, if you have questions or want to talk dosing, or if you need like an anti-nausea medicine, which, you know, it potentially could happen, but with our doctors doing the low and slow approach, hopefully you're not going to have too many side effects. But all of that is included. So you're well supported. We also have an amazing community. So the person that invited you to this call, like, we are all passionate about helping people with health. So you have them as an advocate in your corner. And then as a community, we like to cheerlead each other. So this is just such a unique way to add a facet of, you know, a new tool in your toolkit for health. So get with the person that invited you. They will give you their link. You'll go to their website, set up an account, and you'll be in business getting yourself help with some peptides. So I am so excited for all the speakers we had tonight. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Lynn. And thank you, everyone, for attending tonight. I hope this was helpful, beneficial, and we would love to help you get started on peptides if you want to do so. So I will end it here. Everyone have a great night, and hopefully we'll see you on one of our educational calls in the near future.
Thank you.